Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Medicine Made Easy. Today's video will be the part 3 of the series of videos on ECG, and it's gonna be about interpretation of cardiac axis in an ECG. The cardiac axis represents the overall direction of electrical activity as it spreads through the cardiac conduction system. I hope you remember that we learnt about the cardiac conduction system in detail in part 1 of this video series. For those of you who couldn't watch it, I will link it in the description box. According to what we learnt, we know that the overall direction of the electrical activity will be in this direction, that is from 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock direction. Before moving on to interpretation of cardiac axis in an ECG, let's learn some basic concepts. I hope you remember the basic components of an ECG waveform, P, Q, R, S, T and the U wave. If an electrical impulse is moving towards an ECG lead, the waveform produced by that particular lead will have the size of its R wave greater than that of S wave, as shown here. The opposite will happen if the electrical impulse is moving away from an ECG lead. Here, the S wave will be greater than the R wave. Suppose the electrical activity is moving in a direction perpendicular to a particular lead. Then the size of the R and the S waves will be equal. Now let's move on to interpretation of cardiac axis using an ECG. We have already learnt about how different ECG leads look at the heart in previous videos. First, let's consider the normal cardiac axis. It will usually fall between the limb leads 1 and 2 as shown in this diagram. Since this normal axis is moving towards the leads 1, 2 and 3, they will have the size of their R waves greater than that of S waves as shown here. I hope you can appreciate that the direction of the cardiac axis is more towards the lead 2, and therefore you can see that the magnitude of the R wave in lead 2 is greater than that of 1 and 3. When we consider the lead AVR, the cardiac axis is moving away from this lead and thus the S wave will be greater than the R wave. Suppose the cardiac axis gets shifted to the right. We call it the right axis deviation. In this case, it will be towards leads 2 and 3 and therefore we will have R wave greater than S wave in leads 2 and 3. As the direction of this shifted cardiac axis is now away from lead 1, we will have S wave greater than R wave in lead 1. If the cardiac axis gets shifted to left, we call it the left axis deviation. In this case, it will be towards the lead 1. Therefore, we will have R wave greater than S wave in lead 1. As the direction of the shifted cardiac axis is now away from the leads 2 and 3, we will have S wave greater than R wave in leads 2 and 3. Let's consider an axis diagram with angles ranging from 0 to 180 degrees in either directions, positive and negative, as shown here. The leads 1, 2 and 3 will be approximately at 0, plus 60 and plus 120 degrees respectively. Since not all individuals are alike, the normal cardiac axis is not fixed and it ranges from 0 to plus 90 degrees. If the cardiac axis lies at plus 90, which is perpendicular to lead 1, we will have R wave equals to S wave in lead 1. Once the axis starts moving beyond that, that is in right axis deviation, the S wave becomes greater than R wave in lead 1. Thus, S wave greater than the R wave in lead 1 is the most important finding in right axis deviation. Right axis deviation can range from plus 90 to minus 90 degrees. If the cardiac axis lies at minus 30 degrees, which is perpendicular to lead 2, we will have R wave equals to S wave in lead 2. Once the axis starts moving beyond that, that is in left axis deviation, the S wave becomes greater than the R wave in lead 2. Thus, S wave greater than R wave in lead 2 is the most important finding in left axis deviation. Left axis deviation can range from minus 30 to minus 90 degrees. Now that you have become experts of cardiac axis interpretation, next time when you come across an ECG strip, mainly look at the leads 1 and 2 and determine whether there is an axis deviation or not. That brings us to the end of today's video. If you like the video, give a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Say what you think by leaving a comment. Subscribe the channel and click the bell icon to get a notification when I upload the next video. Let's meet soon with part 4 of ECG Made Easy. Until that, take care. Bye-bye.